Hi, good afternoon. My name is Ruben, and I will be discussing the importance of processed foods and how it affects our diets, and what are some ways we can come up with solutions to fixing our overconsumption of processed foods. A lot of times it could be as simple as minimizing the amount of processing that occurs in our food. For example, one can eat whole natural vegetables and fruits before they're pre-washed, pre-cut, and this way you can lessen the amount of processing that's necessary before it comes onto your plate. Now, for other foods, it's not that easy. For example, the common breakfast cereals and oatmeals and yogurts, they tend to put high fructose corn syrup, additives, coloring, and preservatives to maintain the taste and the actual texture of the product. And I will go into detail about how you can circumvent that issue in itself. So for starters, what needs to be tackled is essentially the fact that although it's okay for us to put an emphasis on calorie counting and the glycemic load and the glycemic index, realistically, it's not that easy for everyone to keep track of exactly what goes inside their bodies. So I was able to develop a plan to make sure everyone can at least realize that if they start consuming foods that are less processed or just not processed at all, that they'll start to see almost immediate changes in their energy levels and exactly what kind of fitness plans that they have and the type of goal they want to reach. For example, one can go to the gym and work out immensely and do everything correct in that sense. But if they were to follow up with a highly processed meal or protein shake, they couldn't do all the hard work that they had just put in. And for that reason, I feel like there needs to be a higher emphasis, a higher focus on minimizing the processed foods intake, and not just for the mere fact that it's processed and we want to stay more natural, but there's also been links to obesity, cancer, diabetes, and even a rise in blood sugar just from eating foods that have been highly processed. And the reason for that is that the chemicals that they add to it in order for it to maintain its low calorie or low sugar or low sugar content ends up being actually more detrimental to the body. One example is the absorption of fructose in the human body. It tends to lower leptin concentrations, which actually makes the body want to take in more food. And of course, that would be very counterproductive for any dietary goals because what ends up happening is it becomes a cycle where once you start wanting to eat more refined carbs, let's say, you're going to start craving more refined carbs. So by design, these processed foods are not just made for our convenience and to save time, but it's also made for the convenience of the company. The company would make more money if they were to get you to purchase more of their own products, and that's why even their marketing campaigns are geared towards making the consumer believe that they need their certain product. And in terms of the forms of processed food, again, like I said earlier, it's okay if you buy pre-washed vegetables or apples, that are washed. But as you start seeing more boxed materials or ready-to-heat dinners, even if they have fruits and vegetables, they could still be completely counterproductive, and they may not actually be real or true fruits and vegetables in themselves. In terms of meat, one of the best things to stay with is grass-fed cow because they have higher conjugated linoleic acid, which helps the body produce, it stimulates the synthesis for muscle growth. And fish is another great example of a protein source that is immensely helpful for the body. But what happens is if you buy certain types of tilapia, let's say, a lot of farm-raised fish, they end up having the way that they're created and produced is they don't feed them properly or with the proper nutrition that they need. And once you start eating fish or cows that are not being fed proper nutritional diets, the the increases the chances of diseases being spread amongst humans. And then it is understandable that time, a lot of time is needed to prepare meals, but the emphasis is the fact that all the time spent on meal preps and purchasing healthy foods and just doing a little bit of research could end up saving you thousands of dollars in the future when all of a sudden you need to have surgery or you need to get medication or you have to start, you notice that there's a higher trend in your doctor visits, let's say. So in the short term, yes, it requires a little bit more time, more patience, and more preparation. But in the long term, you're gonna thank yourself because of the mere fact that you don't have to spend all the excess money on trying to solve the situation that you're in. And even down the line, you'd only be treating the symptom and not necessarily the cause of what's been going on. So basically, what I created was this chart, and how the chart works, it breaks up the common foods into three separate groups, with the group one being unprocessed or minimally processed, and group two being processed culinary ingredients, and group three just being completely ultra processed foods. And here's the example of it right here. So we see here we have this chart where it shows you is the number of times that exact food product was consumed. And the reason for that is now there are a lot of phone apps that they're becoming popular with keeping track of your calories, keeping track of what you're eating, and portion size. And those are all great. Those are fantastic. But again, realistically, not everyone has the time to follow all that. So what the chart does is it just tells you which food group you're eating from, and anytime you eat from that particular food, you just add a tally mark or a check mark. And even when one individual tries this for one day, they're more likely apt to see that they're going to consume more foods from the group 2 or group 3, which are processed ingredients and foods, as opposed to group 1, which are whole natural foods and vegetables and meats and eggs and things like that. So once the person starts tallying exactly what they're eating, they'll start to realize that, okay, I need to put a greater shift on eating group 1 foods. And over time, they're going to just naturally see that maybe they'll be consuming the same number of calories, but the quality of the calories is going to be significantly different than before starting the program that I created. And with the amount of the less amount of work that you need to do, there's a higher chance that you'll stick to that program. Because nowadays a lot of diets tend to be fads and they don't work, and you end up gaining a lot of the weight back from before starting the diet. And going back to the original point, this is not just advocating a new type of diet, it's advocating a difference in lifestyle. And that could be, of course, making sure you continue your exercise regimens, you're doing everything else correctly. But the change in lifestyle comes from not becoming dependent on processed foods. There has been links of addiction from eating processed foods. And it's because of the fact that, like the carbohydrates that are more refined, it allows easier absorption into the body. And whenever you break down and you process a natural product and you make it more accessible and readily available to the body, you increase the chance of the body wanting to continue consuming that product. And it even goes with not just food but with drugs, as has been shown in studies. For example, a coca leaf, when chewed, has less potential for addiction than when it's broken down and processed into cocaine. And so it's similar to how when you eat an apple and it has fructose in it, again you're consuming fiber, a lot of water, and mechanically you're made to chew more of it before being satiated, feeling that satisfaction. However, once you break down all of the sugars from an apple, let's say, and you create apple juice, and you're completely just drinking all of the sugars in it, you're just going to want to keep continually consuming that sugar and rapidly delivering it into your bloodstream or into your body system. And that for that reason, there needs to be an emphasis on, just because something says apple or it says carrot, that doesn't automatically assume that it's healthy. There needs to be more research into ingredients in your food products and how the food is prepared. So again, I wish everyone the best of luck, and it's a simple program that can easily be taught and shown. And over time, you can easily see that once you start keeping track of which foods you're eating that are processed and which are not, within a matter of, let's say, a month, you'll just naturally know which foods to stick to. And then you'll be able to find your niche and see which healthier foods that you just like the taste of more, and that will help you stay on track. If you have any questions, you can feel free to email me. And again, this is not just a diet for a short period of time, but this is a change in lifestyle. And I hope everyone the best of luck. Thank you for your time.